Hey, what's going on, SWAC fans? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the SWAC podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the podcast. I really do appreciate it. On this edition, we're going to be talking about Jackson State versus Prairie View A&M game being canceled. And we're also going to be talking about Jackson State head coach Deion Sanders clearing the air. But I want to say thank you for checking out this podcast. And I want to give a special shout out to everybody that has subscribed to the channel. Thank you all so much. If you haven't already, youtube.com, search the State of the SWAC. But let's go ahead and talk about the breaking news that came out that Jackson State versus Prairie View A&M, the final game of both teams' season, spring season, is canceled. It comes because of some COVID-19 tests, some close contact tracing that traces back to Jackson State. So unfortunately, both teams won't be able to take on one another for the final game of the season. And I think we all can, do without this game. I understand if we're fans of Jackson State University or fans of Prairie View, we want to cheer our team on one more time. We want to watch our team play. But both teams really aren't playing for anything. I mean, the SWAC championship is already decided. We already know who's going to represent the West. We know who's going to represent the East. So this game basically is just, I hate to say it, but it's just a scrimmage game. And then if you count all of the things that are going on, especially at Jackson State University, you got players that actually played within the season. They're transferring, and it seems like these guys are really trying to focus on trying to move on to better opportunities for themselves. And also, Coach Deion Sanders, I just feel like he is mostly looking forward to the fall more so than what's going on in the spring. But as far as Prairie View A&M, they had an outstanding season, man. They were so close to represent the West in the SWAC championship. And as an alumni at Jackson State University, I have to say, I don't think I would want to see this game anyway, because I really feel like Prairie View probably would have beaten Jackson State. I mean, Prairie View is a very underrated football team. They only lost by 5 points this past weekend. And I think if they were to play Jackson State, I don't think Jackson State would have came out on the receiving end of the victory. I mean, I don't feel like that's me not having faith in my school. That's just me being real. All right. But at the end of the day, both teams can take the opportunities to go out here to try to recruit for the fall. And I'm loving what I'm seeing out of the SWAC right now. The competition, the people that are rising to the occasion, from the head coaches, from the players, everybody seems to be chomping at the bit to put their best product on the field in the fall. And, there's this dead time that's going on right now. People can start recruiting and talking to recruits around June 1st. And I think that all schools in the SWAC are going to be recruiting heavily, and I think it has a lot to do with the addition of Deion Sanders. Look, regardless if you like Deion Sanders or not, rather you're a fan of another university, rather you roll your eyes every time you see him, you don't feel like he deserves the attention. He has brought attention to the Southwestern Athletic Conference that it didn't have. Okay, I have to say that it didn't have, because people, for some apparent reason, actually believe that a bunch of people all across the world, it was looking at SWAC football. That is not the case. There were some good SWAC schools. Southern has really been good. Grambling has been good. There's been SWAC schools. Alcorn has been good. But nobody, was really looking at or getting, the SWAC wasn't really getting the attention that it's getting right now. And it has a lot to do with Deion Sanders. Look, Deion Sanders goes down in history as the greatest cornerback of all time. You got guys that are right now wearing the number 21 in the National Football League because of Deion Sanders. You got guys celebrating the end zone, high stepping after interceptions, putting the ball up in the air because of Deion Sanders. He is ingrained in pop culture. The swag, the bravado, the cachet that he brings to HBCU football. I mean, it basically goes hand in hand. I was talking to one of my homeboys the other day, and we were talking about, him being a head coach, maybe, down the line, could you see him playing somewhere else? And I was like, nah, not really, because, his personality fits HBCU football, HBCU sports in general, because, HBCU football is about the game, but it's also about the show. I think every university has that one guy that comes, he dressed, really funny or exotic or whatever like that, comes to the game. He's dancing in the stands. You got kids dancing in the stands. You got the bands. I mean, a lot of pomp and circumstance going on in the SWAC. And I think that Deion Sanders fits it well. And it also adds that dynamic that he does bring some cachet. I mean, I think Jackson State has accumulated, according to USA Today, $185 million, total, you know what I'm saying, just by his presence being there, through endorsements and people wanting to work with the SWAC, his cooperation and his partnership with Pepsi, allowing student athletes, at least one from each school, to get a job or internship, after they graduate. That's incredible. So whether you like him or not, he has brought, a level of credibility to SWAC football, even though SWAC football has really been good over the last couple of years. But unfortunately, Deion Sanders has some explaining to do, and it dates back to his comments on last week. Deion Sanders had a press conference. He talked to the media, and a question was brought up about the quarterback competition that's going to be taking place, in the fall. And both of those quarterbacks at the time was, two quarterbacks, the ones that have been starting for Jackson State, do they have an advantage over his 4-star recruit son, Shedeur Sanders? And this is what he said.
It was almost like that carnivore mentality that he has is coming out.
Do you think the two quarterbacks that have played have a little bit of an edge going into the fall? Or is it an open competition?
Going into a fall?
Yeah. Or is it open competition like every other spot?
It's every other spot. I mean, everything is competitive, man. We today at the conclusion of practice, it was a very Lord help me. It has nothing to do with y'all. Trust me. It's just a silly moment right now. It's an open competition with every spot, and we're just trying to.
Coach, what's cracking you up? Come on, you gotta tell us now.
It's like I'm in a styrofoam box, and I just can't. I'm just trying my best to get out, and I can't. I'll let you in at the conclusion of this. I'll tell you what's going on.
So as you can see, the question was asked about the quarterback competition in the fall, and he started to laugh. And a lot of people insinuated, including myself, that he was laughing because he probably felt as if his son Shedeur Sanders, there was no competition. Like I said, he is a 4-star athlete. He is the highest star recruit that Jackson State has ever had. So a lot of people took that out of context. They thought that maybe he was laughing at the fact that he doesn't believe that any of those quarterbacks are going to beat out his son. But time has went on, he was criticized because of it. And Coach Prime actually cleared the air. Here it is.
See, what we do, every press conference, my team gives me 2 words that I have to mix in and intertwine during my verbiage of the press conference. This week it was carnivore and styrofoam. So within the confines of the press conference, I have to use these words in a suitable manner that no one could guess. I just had to throw those words in. It's kind of like our game. It's kind of like our gag. And what you're about to see is straight out there hilarious. It's funny. And I couldn't hold it because my team was on the other side of the cameras laughing their butts off that I actually flipped the words and hit them and kept a straight face until a couple of them made me laugh. So that's what you're about to check out. But some dude gonna take it upon himself to try to flip the whole thing like I was humiliating or having a negative tone about our players on our team. That was not the case. It was all about these 2 words. That's what I was laughing about.
So Coach Prime cleared the air about that, and I'm glad that he did. And I actually mentioned the comments on my other podcast, the State of the Saints podcast, and there were several other podcasters that insinuated the same thing. But it's hard for you not to insinuate that, because someone asked you a question about the quarterback competition. Your son is actually playing for the school. He's a high star recruit, and you start laughing after the question was asked. Of course, people are going to believe that that's what you're laughing at. But I'm glad that he did clear the air, because I mean, this is one of those cases where you had to say something. Like, sometimes, comments can happen and we do our own interpretation, but that could easily have went left. And I talked about that. I mean, you see your coach laughing about something like a quarterback competition, and this is my thinking at the time. You see your coach laughing about being asked about the quarterback competition. I feel like that could leave a bad taste in the mouths of a lot of his players. Quincy Casey didn't play bad. Like he really did not play bad the last time we saw him. I mean, he had 4 touchdown passes against Alabama and A&M. I just feel like they ran up against a buzzsaw. I mean, Akil Glass is going to play on Sundays. I keep saying this. I've said this on every episode of the State of the SWAC. This guy is going to play on Sunday. He can make all the throws. But Quincy Casey did an outstanding job. I mean, Jalen Jones, to me, I mean, he left a lot to be desired. But Quincy Casey, I mean, he was out there balling, man. He was out there rolling out of the pocket. He was extending plays. He did what he had to do in order to make the team be as successful as they possibly could on that day. So I understand that Deion Sanders, I mean, he was taking first-team reps, even though he hasn't gotten the opportunity to play. He will play in the fall. But at the same time, I think that can leave a bad taste in the mouth of a lot of players and also future recruits. If they see you laughing at, your players that you feel like aren't deemed good enough, a lot of people might roll their eyes or look at another university and feel like their services will be needed there. But I'm glad that he cleared it up. Now that he cleared it up, I think we all can move on. I think we're all looking forward to the fall, especially me as a former, student at Jackson State, now alumni. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing Alcorn come back. They forfeited the entire season. They decided to sit out. Prairie View A&M, who I just mentioned, who was playing some outstanding football, unfortunately ran into Arkansas Pine Bluff, with their late game heroics. And I just think that everybody in the SWAC is going to they're going to up their competition, man. Everybody is going to want to be the best, because as of right now, everybody is trying to find ways to make themselves better than the rest. And it also includes talking to some of the seniors, giving them opportunities to come back to play for an extra year. And there are a lot of teams that have a lot of talent. And I know there's a lot of seniors out there and a lot of upperclassmen who may be thinking about going pro, may want to come back to try to up their draft stock, because they're going to get more visibility. And with more visibility, more eyes on you, there's a bigger chance that you actually get drafted, not so much in the later rounds, but even earlier. So it'd be interesting to see. But I would love to hear from you. What do you think about Deion Sanders' comments? What do you think about the cancellation of the Jackson State versus Prairie View A&M game? Comment down below, like and share this video. This has been the State of the SWAC podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com, search The State of the SWAC podcast. And the State of the SWAC podcast is also available on Facebook, facebook.com, search The State of the SWAC podcast. Till next time, I'll see you down the road.